All right, Coach.
All set back there? Yeah, good, go.
All right, now you're in the thick of things of spring practice. I guess maybe you're like a third of the way through. It seems like it's 4 days last week, the 1 day today. So which just the early look of the offense and your tight ends after the first 5 days?
Well, we're pleased where we are. Not a lot of change in terms of what we're doing offensively. It's more about we've changed some terminology around, giving some young guys some opportunities. I think that's what spring's about. Spring's about development. We've got some veterans on this team that we know who they are. They played a lot of football for this university, but you've got some new pieces. And I think when you get those freshmen that come in early, or if you get a transfer now with the portal and the way things are in college football, you really got to find out what kind of player they are and then how they gel in the whole team. So I'm pleased with where we are from our unit, from the tight end unit. We've got a couple of veterans. Obviously, Alec Holler's played a lot of football for this university. Zach Wojan is out this spring. He's nursing an injury that he'll be fine. He'll be back soon. But that's an opportunity for these young guys. We got a lot of freshmen in that room. We got, Grant Stevens is a redshirt freshman. Randy Pittman is a true freshman. He just graduated high school in December. Thomas Wadsworth, a walk-on from down in Melbourne, local guy, redshirt freshman. So some opportunities for them. And then you've got Max Holler and Garrett French who've been around here. This is a great opportunity for those guys to get some opportunities, some reps, and to really kind of find out how they fit in the whole puzzle.
How big was it for Alec Holler to come back with another year?
Well, my knees are still dirty from begging, but I absolutely love coaching Alec Holler. I love coaching him. I think he epitomizes everything that's right with college football. He won the locker room. He's a great teammate, but he's a great player. Every time you need a play, every time that we have had to have a play since the day I got here, he's been able to make that play. I think back to trying to run the clock out against Boise in my first game here, and we go to him and he makes the first down on the sideline. You think about the play against Memphis when we're in 4-minute offense and he makes the play, sacrifices his body. You think about the last play, of course, everybody knows in the South Florida game. So he's proven it on the biggest stage and at the biggest moments. So obviously for this university it's huge, but for me personally, I just love being his coach.
You talked about Collar last season. Are you in the booth? Are you in the box during games?
I'm on the field.
You're on the field. So what was your perspective of that? People calling it the Holy Holler catch against South Florida. What was your vantage point and what was your reaction when you saw it?
Well, my first thing was he in bounds? Obviously because it was on the far side, but when I saw the official raise his hands, I knew that even if it went to the review, Ty was going to the runner. So I was pretty excited. I knew it was a point in time where we needed a play, but that's a play that has been very successful for us, that we have used several times during the year. In fact, go all the way back to the first game of the year. It's the exact same play Kabori Gamble laid out for a touchdown against South Carolina State. So it was a play that we knew we had executed a bunch of times, and when we had to have it, he made the play.
We've heard a little bit about Randy Pittman. I think it was Kobe Hudson or Jalen Baker. One of those two guys mentioned Randy had a good catch last week in practice. What did you like about him in the recruiting process, and how important was it to bring him here?
That's a great question. So when Coach Malzahn and I started talking, the thing about Randy is when you talk about tight ends, he doesn't look like that. He doesn't look like the typical long body tight end, but he's got a really long wingspan, really big arms. And when I went to watch him, I went to evaluate him the first time, and the guy didn't come off the field. I mean, he's a football player. So you go, is he a tight end? I don't know, but he's a football player. The guy played every snap at linebacker, every snap at tight end. He played with his hand down. He played in the ball position. He played split out. He was returning punts, was back deep on kickoff returns. The guy played every single snap. And when I went and watched him in the spring, he's the best player on the field. And there wasn't a close second. And he played in a good caliber of football. His coach does a really good job of having him prepared. And so at that point, it became a priority to us that, hey, this is a guy that can come in and make our team better. He has all the intangibles. He is very driven right now. He studies the playbook relentlessly. I get late night texts, hey coach, what does this mean? What about this? And then again, for him to have Zach at practice every day who's not practicing standing. Zach's job, we call him Coach Zach, his job right now is to stand right beside Randy and make sure he knows what to do on every play. And then to have Alec to talk through technique and fundamentals, I mean, that's a gift that I think he's trying to take advantage of. But he's going to be a great player for here for a long time.
And you said Zach has been practicing this spring, but he came up big last season. I know he's banged up a little bit, but just kind of what impact does he have? How important is it to have a guy like that coming back?
Well, he's a veteran. I mean, him and Alec are in their 6th year. They're old guys. They're guys that have been around for a long time. And Zach we probably played 60% of our snaps in 12 personnel, 2 tight ends last year, and Zach played a lot. He's that tough guy. He's that guy that kind of sets the toughness for our room. He's a dirty work guy, and he don't mind it. He embraces that role. He'll put his hand in the dirt, and if it means he's got to block a 300-pound defensive tackle, he's going to give him everything he's got. He's a very strong kid. So we're very comfortable with who he is and what his role is and what he can bring to the table. But his role is bigger than just what he does on the field for us. His role right now is to be a mentor to these young guys as we try to bring them along.
What do you hope to see from Grant Stevens this spring? I know he sat out last season and had an injury, but what are you hoping to see from him in his development?
Yeah, great question. So, again, going back to the recruiting process, when we recruited Grant was a wide receiver in high school with a big body. He had wide receiver skills. The question when we recruited him was, how's he going to translate that to getting in the core and you know, getting your nose bloody and being a little dirty down in there. And so that's really, as we go through spring, that's what we want to see. I know the guy can go out and run routes. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. He's probably 245 pounds right now. He hasn't lost his speed. He's still running really well, especially for a guy his size. He's got really good hands. He's made some big plays out there. So for us in the development process for Grant, it's about developing him as a blocker in the core, as a blocker on the perimeter. It's just the things that guys that are young overlook. Everybody goes to the playground and none of them work on blocking. You know, if you watch videos on Twitter, you're not seeing a bunch of guys getting their nose dirty. They're running routes with quarterback and catching balls, and they're posting those on social media. You don't see a bunch of guys sticking their hands in the dirt and banging bags. And so for us, that's where we're trying to develop it.
Coach,
Yes.
we've had a chance to observe practice a couple of times, and it looks like since Coach Malzahn relinquished play calling duties, he's able to wander around a little more. How different is that as an assistant to maybe see him looking over your shoulder during your drills and that whole dynamic?
Yeah, so I think the big thing for Coach and for him in this role is he's in the big picture. So for the changing landscape of college football is unbelievable, and the things that are required of a head coach nowadays, I can't even imagine. And so by him giving up those play calling duties, it allowed him to see some things during practice that he wasn't able to see when he was focused on just a single part of practice. So, kind of like a megaphone when you're coaching on just the offense, you're looking through the small hole. Now he's got that thing flipped around. He's looking through the whole picture. And we meet every day as a staff, and he big pictures. Here's what my expectations are. So what I like about it is it clears up gray area. There is no gray area from what the head coach wants. This is what he wants, and for us, our job is to go out there and put action to what he says. We're all in the same thing. We're trying to carry his message of what he's trying to accomplish here. I think it's been different for him because it's been the first time in a long time he's not been in charge of plays or been calling plays. But don't make no bones about it. He's in charge of everything, and we all know it. And but he's hired really good people on this staff. He's hired really good coaches. Guys that really want to do right and want to make this place better. Everybody here, we love winning and we love players, and I think that's the main thing. One thing that Coach has always done everywhere he's been, he's hired really good people first, and when you hire good people, the product will follow that.
Colton Boomer's banged up to start spring. Does that allow an opportunity? I know Grant Reddick came in and some other options. What's the kicker position looking like?
Yeah, so with Colton be out, everybody's comfortable with Colton. We all know what Colton's capable of. I mean, he came in last year and immediately made an impact on our football team. So I look at this as a blessing. I think it's an opportunity for Riker Casey, for Grant Reddick to get live reps, maybe some reps that they wouldn't have got. And again, it goes back to when you have guys on your team that have quality reps, that have experience, in spring is the time to bring them young guys along. And so for Grant, and especially if it's a high school guy that early graduates and comes early, you want to take advantage of that, and you want to put them in the fire. And so we've been able to do that. I've been really pleased with the progress that those guys are making.
What about the punter position? Obviously, Mitch McCarthy came in, made a big impact. Football was relatively new to him, at least in this type of football. So how big is the second year going to be for him?
Well, in the words of Herb Hand, he didn't know if there was air or feathers in the ball. So we're kind of still trying to figure that out. But he is one of the most talented guys I've ever been around in that position. And just to see the maturity and the growth, he is a hard worker and very, very driven. Now, he came in as a 25-year-old freshman. So for him, he's a consummate pro. He works at his craft. He's still trying to learn the American game and all those kind of things, but he is very, very talented, one of the most talented I've been around. But he's also a mature guy. So again, in that room, there's some youth. Colton's the young, Grant's young. So it's also good to have that experience, I guess life experience, even if there's no football experience in that room, to help kind of guide those young guys along.
What does the long snapper position look like post Alex Ward?
Yeah, so, we took a long snapper transfer out of Arizona State, Gage King, and he has come in and done a tremendous job for us. And then we got two young guys, Aiden Fettigan, a guy that we took 2 years ago, that's same class as Colton. I think we took him the same year. Local kid here, is a state of Orlando kid from over at DeLand. He's getting better, really fast snaps. All of them are working to be more accurate. And then a young man named Chris Bauerfein, which is a great story. He came here and walked on as a running back. And he was a dirty work guy in the running back room. And in fact, he decided he wanted to learn the long snap about this time last year. And Alex Ward took him under his wing and taught him to snap. He had no idea how to hold the ball. So he wasn't a kid that came through the camp circuit like a lot of these guys do nowadays. He literally learned how to snap from Alex Ward last year. And he's just, works at it relentlessly. And so we got those two young guys, feel really good about where Gage is. And, when you lose a guy like Alex Ward, who I think is the best, I think he's the best guy in this, and hopefully he's going to have a really special day here coming up soon and be drafted, and we'll be right there supporting him. But when you lose a guy like that, you're going to feel it. But I will say this, I think Gage is coming in. I think he's a junior in the classroom, so he's an older guy, and that's what we were really looking for, a guy with some experience, an older guy that can come in there and fill those shoes. So obviously he's got work to do to fill the shoes, but we feel confident that he can.
This is a big year for UCF, obviously going into the Big 12. How do coaches? The coaches get excited about their? You've been recruiting for it, but the moment's finally here. How do you feel about that?
Well, we had no idea when we got here. At least those of us that got here early on, and of what we came here knowing this place was going to be special, and we didn't care what league it was in. We thought and still believe that we have an opportunity to win the whole thing because it's been done. And I've been on the other side of that. I was unfortunately on the other side of that field at the Peach Bowl in 17. So I understand what it is and the caliber of football that gets played here. So are we excited about the level of competition and opportunities that the Big 12 brings? Without a doubt. We're super excited about that, and the trajectory of this program just continues to climb, and it's been fun to just be a part of it.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Coach. Thank you.
Got it, man.